Hi, Kat. How you doing?
Hi, Lokesh.
Hey,
Hi.
good to see you. Thanks for joining on Soul Freedom Show. I'm Lokesh, and thanks again. Appreciate you joining.
Yeah,
How's your day going today?
my day is going pretty full, and thank you, Namaste, for having me here. And I really appreciate you and everybody tuning in to this amazing frequency that Lokesh is um, providing for this channel. So thank you for being here. And yeah,
Yeah, and we were just talking. We're matching color. It's all about blue right now. So,
I know. What you know what? Today is Earth Day, and blue is the symbol of the sky.
oh
So
yeah, and
yeah, it
water. I
reflected
mean,
with the
ocean too.
water.
Yeah.
You know what? And another thing that I found out about the color blue is that naturally, blue is a very hard color to find on fruits on the planet because it has a very
Oh,
high concentrated
yeah.
amount of antioxidants in it. So, like blueberries
Right.
are actually really good for you because it's a pretty rare color that to naturally occur
Yeah.
in plants. So
Wow,
yeah.
amazing. That's a good place to start.
Nutrition.
I know.
Really good.
Yeah, actually, let's start from a little bit about yourself, like how your spiritual journey started and what you're doing now. Let's
Yeah.
just start from there.
Well, okay, so this is quite an interesting conversation because when I think about my spiritual journey started when I entered the planet when I was a lot younger because I grew up traveling to many different countries, so I was able to experience many different cultures all at once. Now, there's the conditioning part of like each culture, so like being able to witness that and see all of that in
Right.
play made me realize how profoundly um, diverse every
Yeah.
single place is and how amazing and incredible the spectrum, the colors of our human awareness and our human potential could be
Yeah.
like.
Right.
So I learned that from a young age that from moving from one place to another, that the relationships that we form within that place and space was not
Mm-hmm.
permanent. So that means that
Mm.
nothing is permanent altogether. So the
Yeah.
cultivation of present moment awareness had always been there. Now,
Mm-hmm.
there was a period of time in my teens to my 20s where I kind of forgot all about that and like really got into American culture. We moved to the United States after my dad had retired from the Navy
Right.
when I was 11 or 12, or between 11 and 12. So we were like going back and forth. My
Mm-hmm.
grandmother had a house in California. So summers we would spend it here in California. And then other times we would be traveling wherever my dad was stationed at in the
Right.
Navy. So um, it was quite interesting because during that time frame when I was a teenager and when I was in my 20s, I had been trying to figure out what my place is in the world and like trying to figure out what my purpose is. So I
Yeah.
just kind of fell into the general narrative
Yeah.
of society where
Yeah.
I like graduated university, I got a job, and I worked my bum off for a couple years.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I ended up receiving a very amazing opportunity to work at a corporation
Mm.
that turned into university coaching type of position where I was helping out people figure out their careers at some point. But there was always something that um, was not quite there, and I couldn't figure it
Yeah.
out. So I've been on a quest um,
Yeah.
throughout my 20s to figure that out. Now, a couple of years ago, I had an experience where I took on a corporate position that was very high level, very like everything that I ever wanted. I had,
Right. Yeah.
a beautiful house. I what had a full-time job. I had an amazing partner, and But there's still that thing. There's still that
Yeah.
thing that I could not like pinpoint my heart with. It was just
Yeah.
that one thing. So
Right.
there was this internal searching, that happened for me. And at that point, I realized that the doing and the grasping and I was running marathons. I was, you know, hiking and backpacking and
Yeah.
exploring and really connecting with nature. I
Yeah.
was able to realize that my awareness and my inherent awareness of who I know I really am
Yeah.
is a direct reflection of what nature is showing me at the time. And so
Right.
all these things have um, appeared right in front of me. And in the middle of all this happening, it was like my life was being rearranged in the corporate world. So I
Yeah.
was working full time, but in order to manage all the demands of my corporate lifestyle, because I did create that, I
Yeah.
chose that. I chose
Right.
that lifestyle. So
Yeah.
in order to manage the demands of that lifestyle, I had to balance it out. And so, what better way to balance it out than by taking yoga classes and
Yeah.
meditation courses? So, I
Yeah.
started with that. And at some point, some of my colleagues had mentioned to me, like, "Hey, you're pretty consistent on the meditation," and the meditation was actually suggested to release release tension,
Yeah.
release stress, and
Right.
calm the mind and all that.
Yeah.
So it was very basic. I decided that I would volunteer at my organization that I worked with before on lunch break for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then somehow it got extended to 30 minutes. And then next thing I know, people were staying in there for their whole lunch
Mm.
breaks because they enjoyed just sitting
Yeah.
and being in, just being themselves
Yeah.
in solitude and quiet because it's
Right.
just loud when you work in a place like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
somebody had suggested that, hey, this is something that you seem to be naturally drawn to. Have
Right.
you tried or at least considered teaching it? And so I sat with that for a while. I didn't really do anything with it, that information, for about a year.
Yeah.
And I still kept on going and
Yeah.
continued on with my life. And at that point, everything in my life basically decided that it was going to be rearranged. And so at that point, I had a whole spiritual awakening.
Mm.
Um, and it's quite interesting because the more that I deepened my practice with knowing myself
Mm.
and getting to know myself through a particular practice, the more that I realized that my awareness about the story and the narrative that I built for my whole life previous
Right.
to that
Yeah.
was actually the same as what I was experiencing in that same exact moment, but it was also transforming into something that I didn't quite know just yet.
Yeah.
So the more that I was okay with the not knowing part, the more
Mm.
that the magic of the mystery started to appear in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happened, I had an epiphany moment. I remember the day I woke up and I said, I'm gonna become a yoga teacher.
Wow. Right.
And I had a gift that was given to me a week after I realized that. And um,
Uh-huh.
I agreed with my um, company that I was gonna travel. I was just gonna
Oh,
leave the
wow.
United States to travel. I spent some time learning yoga
So when you
and
say you,
meditation in Nepal, and then I
yeah.
lived in an ashram monastery there.
So can I
Sorry?
ask a quick? So when you say agreed, are you saying that they were like still paying you and they, I mean, how did it all work out? Because many people who are working, they might want to
Yeah.
know, because I've been on the same path as well. I've been the software industry, and
Hmm.
I'm sometimes think, oh, if I could do this.
Yeah.
But then when you say the company agreed, like did they give you a time off or how did it work out?
No, it was actually, I mean, it was actually more about like an actual like conversation
Okay.
that they're noticing that I was spending more time meditating
Right.
and like focusing my attention on
Yeah.
a particular task that I seem to be really good at. And
Oh, you
so it
mean
was just
you
like
were
the
part of the
natural
company?
evolution
Oh,
of
okay.
it.
So you were doing it for the
Yeah.
company at that after that transition.
Yeah. And so it was
Okay.
just a lot, it was just a lot better um, to see that,
Okay.
after I had been able to
Okay.
train a couple of
Oh,
people,
okay.
then
I
I was
see.
able to leave. So
Yeah.
it worked out quite nicely, actually. So I'm very grateful for that experience, and I was also very grateful that I was able to um, see that my path and my trajectory on my own growth had
Yeah.
exponentially grown at that particular time.
Uh-huh.
So, so, and I didn't know, Lokesh, when I went there, I remember the day that I landed in the Kathmandu airport, and
Uh,
nobody spoke English.
right.
Nobody, I mean, I can't read the, like nothing was English.
Yeah.
The
Right.
streets were on the opposite side of the road than what I'm used to.
Yeah.
And it was just so overwhelming. And I ended up like sobbing in the back of the taxi. And this nice man that was driving the taxi, he came uh, out of his door, opened the door, came out, and then he sat next to me and held my hand, and he said, it's okay. Like a lot of Americans experience this when
Yeah.
um, visit another country. And that
Mm.
made me feel a lot better because then I realized that, wow, I have been living in a bubble. And I didn't
Yeah.
realize that
Yeah.
there was a whole new way of being. And it was so um, beautiful. Beautiful right after that. It was like a very rich experience of
Hmm.
learning a whole new culture, a whole new way of being, a whole new way of eating, which I still eat like that to this day. Is
Yeah.
kind of, and I learned about um, hatha yoga. So I
Yeah.
trained while I was there, and I lived in a Namo Buddha. Um, uh, can't even pronounce the actual monastery name,
Uh,
but it's been quite an interesting journey. So I've just maintained the
hmm.
practices ever since then. Then after that, I had decided that I would um, continue with what
Right.
it is that I learned. Now, we were talking about Osho earlier,
Yeah.
and years before this happened, I actually have some of Osho's books here in
Oh,
my
me
my
too.
study. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I didn't really know who Osho was
Right.
until I actually went to Osho Topabon.
Uh-huh.
So I learned
Nepal. Right. Yeah.
yeah, I learned a little bit of
Hmm.
like very compared to what other people have probably studied. It's just like very, very little from what
Yeah.
I know, and like I'm very curious to what other people are experiencing and seeing, because the
Yeah.
more that I converse and connect with other people
Yeah.
who are also, let's say, reading the same exact thing or learning about the same exact thing, the
Yeah.
more that my awareness is being brought into
Yeah.
expansion.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, I came back to the United States and um, have met so many amazing contemporary teachers. So I've
Yeah.
studied with Deepak Chopra and
Yeah.
uh, Jack Cornfield and Sharon Salzberg,
Uh,
and actually live like not that far from Spirit Rock. So,
yeah.
and I still feel like I'm learning to this day.
Yeah. It almost
And
feels like you're reading my mind because, the minute I'm thinking I should ask you, I was going to ask you who have been your like role models. And as soon as I think of
yeah.
something, you're already answering. So maybe you can go more
Mhm.
into like, who are your kind of role models like earlier and right
So
now? Yeah.
one of my current teachers, I would say like main role model, I guess, at this point, and I sit with her every day, is Caverly Morgan. When I lived in Portland, I got to know her and her practices within the non-dual practice, and it's very contemporary.
Yeah.
She spent 8 years in a Buddhist monastery in silence.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so I'm
Like
learning a lot.
Vipassana kind of a thing,
Um,
or something
I think it was
similar.
a Zen Buddhist
Zen Buddhism. All right.
monastery.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a very different tradition. So um, I don't really have like a direct lineage per se with
Mm.
any of the spiritual practices. What I know and what I understand and know for myself is that each person is going to gravitate towards what works and what feels
Yeah.
best for. So the work that I've been doing is to empower and encourage each person to
Yeah.
really um, stay in clear, full alignment with somebody's own truth. Now, what that looks like for me is going to be very different from Lokesh's version of like
Yeah.
your version of
Yeah.
what that looks like for you. And so
Yeah.
the work that I've been doing, it has been to bring that kind of awareness, which I call authentic awareness. And it's very
Okay.
similar to the teachings that I learned from Baba Ram Dass a
Yeah.
long time ago
Yeah.
through Alchemy of the Heart.
Right.
So the way that I understand it is going to be completely different from what some of my, even my own contemporary teachers,
Yeah.
I'm still constantly learning and I'm still
Yeah.
constantly growing. Um, However, I can only show some resources and tools, both as a mental health and wellness
Yeah.
counselor
Yeah.
professional and a coach at the same time.
All
So
right.
I even that, like, it feels weird for me to say the title because I don't feel like that really encompasses who I know I really
Yeah.
am.
Right.
So um, it's just it's just been an interesting journey so far. And when I look back at the the path that
Uh-huh.
I have been um, walking on in the last few years, it really amazes me at the growth
Yeah.
and the spirituality that had developed. Because um, if and I like to ask this question to every single person, like, if you knew me 5 years before, um, you would know this about me, blank. So it's
Right.
typically something that I would, um, ask somebody that I am
Yeah. Working with
either
kind of,
working
yeah.
with or coaching with. It's like, if you
Right.
knew me, if like you really knew me from 5 years before, and then if you really knew me from 5 years now,
Right.
um, this is who I am now. So
Yeah.
to answer that question for this phase, because I offered it up, is like, if you
Yeah.
really knew me 5 years ago, you wouldn't, like, I had like no spiritual, like, more than 5 years ago, like I had like a story, a narrative that I built for myself, where I didn't
Right.
think that there was something else that is uh connected to me. And I call
Yeah.
it the super, and Swami Lakshmanaji has talked about it as the supra conscious
Right.
mind, to connect
Yeah.
with constantly.
Yeah.
And the way that, and to put it in millennial terms, is, it's like a live stream 24/7 awareness of
Yeah.
something, some higher being that is very loving and very gentle and is constantly holding all of us,
Yeah.
me, you, the people that are watching this podcast right now,
Trust,
to
is that the trust you're talking
loving.
about? Yeah. Loving
Yeah.
and trusting the higher self or the higher universe. Because we have angels, I don't know, different people have different names. I think you're talking about like just trusting
Yes.
those guides and angels that everything is okay. That brings me to the whole coronavirus thing going on. Like,
Mm,
people are afraid and there's so much going on. Like, what do you feel is going on with yourself and, with
mm.
people and, you know, the universe in general? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. So here's what I sense that's going on for me with this whole entire thing, is that this whole thing that's happening to all of us is an um a way for us to just be, and it's a
Yeah.
way for us to breathe and
Yeah.
have a great pause
Yeah.
in the busyness of our lives, because we've been doing this for a long time,
Yeah.
for in the Western world
Yeah.
anyway.
Like
The
always busy
hustle,
kind of a
the
thing. Yeah.
bustle, the
Yeah.
going and
Yeah.
the forward motion, the fire energy
Yeah.
of like the I call it, and well, one of my teachers, his name is Bill Plotkin, and he calls it the loyal soldier.
All
The
right.
loyal soldier that wants to continue to do the thing that is
Yeah.
needed to be done
Right.
with progression
Mm-hmm.
to what's being ordered
Right.
by the whatever societally,
Yeah.
because this is the narrative that we've all collectively built from
Y-
the masses.
Yeah.
However, when it's like when you exit the the program, I call it the program of the narrative mind of the
Mm-hmm.
collective, then you get to step back and really look at it, kind of like when Neo exited the Matrix and said, is it real? So
Yeah.
the whole thing that I've noticed as a mental health and wellness counselor, and the first initial stages of when the news happened, was there was this stages of how each person reacted to
Yeah.
the news,
Right.
um, and then there's the acceptance piece,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the settling of the
Yeah.
energy
Right.
into letting it be and just being.
Yeah.
Now the wellness is found within the beingness. And so when I say the beingness of who we are, that takes some emotional flexibility. So
Mm-hmm.
emotional flexibility is when we allow ourselves, or allow yourself, the grace and the space. So that's
Yeah.
very important, is to have the space to feel the feelings
Right.
all the way through, rather than
Yeah.
pushing it down or denying it, or um, forwarding it over to somebody in
Yeah.
close proximity to you,
Right.
when the feelings are not expressed in a beautiful way or in a healthy way, or sometimes
Yeah.
the feelings can be really like grungy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have to let it move around into the body. So one of my teachers that I learned from years ago is Tony Robbins, and
Mm-hmm.
he calls emotion is motion of the psyche. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to move it around in the body,
Uh,
rather than getting it stuck there. So
okay.
emotion is energy in
In
motion.
motion. Right.
So you have to let the energy move through you rather than being
So
static.
are you saying like
Important.
physically move, or how? What do you mean by move through you? Like,
So when I say move it through you, you breathe it in and you exhale it out. That's
right.
the simplest way to go
All
do
right.
it. Now, sometimes that's not enough for some people. So that's why yoga
Yeah.
practice is very
Yeah.
good and very helpful.
Right.
The other thing that I also like to do is to dance it out. So I
Yeah.
sit dance, I
Yeah.
listen to some good music, dancing it out at
Yeah.
home.
Right.
Um, And some people don't really need to do a whole lot of activity, and just
Yeah.
breathing it in and exhaling it out
Yeah.
is good,
Right.
and not do anything about it, because maybe they're the kind of person that has just been constantly moving, constantly doing, and that's the program. That's
Yeah.
the old self
Yeah.
wanting to do. And then all of a sudden, there's this space that you just gotta stay and be. So that's
Yeah.
the practice. So it's very different for each person. So just
Yeah.
tuning in and allowing yourself to listen. Like, what do you
Okay.
need at this moment? Do you need
Right.
to move? Do you need
Yeah.
to dance?
Yeah.
Do you need to sing? Do you need to
Right.
make art? Do you need to hydrate? Do you need to eat? Do
Yeah.
you need to just be,
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
very different for each person.
Right.
I know I'm going to be biased because the work that I do is to allow yourself the space to just take a pause, breathing in and exhaling it out,
Yeah.
and just having this space to just be. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's good to know. So,
good.
so that brings me to my next question. Like, do you see, because you're coaching, counseling people, like, what are the changes, or, yeah, changes you're seeing in people, like your clients or people you interact with over the last couple of months? Like, Like,
Mhm.
are they afraid or what's going on, and what should people be doing right now, kind of?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because you don't really need to be doing a whole lot of things at this point. This is like
Okay.
the perfect place and time to nurture and deepen patience,
Yeah.
have some nature time,
Right.
connect deeply and intimately with
Right.
friends and family.
Yeah.
And sometimes it may not be possible in the physical space, and you can
Yeah.
still do that virtually. I mean,
Yeah.
you and I are, like in the same state, but we're doing this and
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
connecting, and I think
Yeah.
this is so beautiful. We're literally globally connected in such a way that is a lot closer now than it ever was before in human
Yeah.
history.
Right.
This is like a historical or historical
Yeah.
moment,
Right.
and shifting
Yeah.
the complete dialogue and narrative for how our entire society functions. And so when that
Mhm.
happens in a global scale, as it is with this entire pandemic that has been shown to us, it
Uh,
is um, it is an opportunity for all of us to um, positively alchemize the energy that has been presented to all of us. It's
yeah.
making everyone look at their own um, habits,
Yeah.
their own
Psyche. Or
shadows,
yeah.
their own way of being,
Yeah.
language, how we're
Yeah.
communicating with each other.
Yeah.
When do you reach out? When do you not? For a lot of people, I've been counseling some couples more recently,
Mm.
and people working together at home and still maintaining a routine
Right.
that was there before, but then all of a sudden they're spending more time with each other. So the dynamic is now a little bit deeper and
Yeah.
also richer at the same time. But there's also some rough um,
Yeah.
edges that
Edges.
need to
Yeah.
be worked through.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, so it just really depends on how we choose to look at it. So your awareness flows, right,
Yeah.
where we choose to go.
Right. Right.
Um,
Because
yeah, and
it's
so
also a time of opportunity, right? Like we were talking about earlier. Some people like me, I used to do these interviews many years back. I gave up, like I kind of paused on it, but now I've been listening to people like Infinite Waters, Ralph Smart,
mhm,
people like you who are empowering people. They're saying just go and do whatever you have, always wanted to
yes,
do. So this is a great opportunity to just
absolutely.
do anything, right?
Yeah, you're right about that, Lokesh, because here's the thing. If you look at the laws of physics,
Yeah.
energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just is.
All right.
What we do with the energy to positively alchemize it through these practices of allowing and just being is a healthy way to engage, not in a dialogue with the mind, but to
Right.
just allow it um, to be. So lots
Yeah.
of people, when we have the space to just be in our own internal self, when you go inward, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
there's a whole universe in there I didn't even know that I could
Yeah.
explore. So
Yeah.
um some people have find that very challenging, and then there's some people that love to go into those spaces and places and then process that and then never
Yeah.
come out of it in a spiritual sense. So
Mm.
I called that process, that being a process junkie,
Yeah.
to ruminate in the cycle of the
Yeah.
emotional washing machine of the mind.
Yeah.
So at some point you have to
Yeah.
exit that too, because that's
Yeah.
emotional looping in the
Right.
cortical part of our brain. So
Yeah.
at some point, like, you can get lost in it. And so I'm noticing this, and I'm sharing this because in mental health, that seems to be like a theme of
Yeah.
the
Right.
old way
Yeah.
that mental well-being and mental health was being um, explored. Now, it's great to do that with a professional. However, um, the awareness that we're being brought upon to this time is to really look and consider, is it moving your life forward in such a way where you are embodying
Yeah.
courageous love for
Right.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And having fearlessness and
Yeah.
confidence that comes from a tender-hearted way of knowing that that thing is there, but
Yeah.
then you're still acknowledging it and accepting it as part of yourself. It's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
So, and not to try to play the other, role. So
Yeah.
there's narrative of like the othering. So like
Mm.
I'm separate from this person because like they don't believe the same thing as me, or they're not doing the same thing as I am. But like the only thing that we have any conscious control of is our own reactions and our own way
Yeah.
of being and how we
Yeah.
respond to it. And
Yeah.
as many
Yeah.
teachers have
Yeah.
said before, like the only way out is through it. And so by
Yeah.
embracing and acknowledging the awareness and the
Mm.
present moment awareness that we have about a particular thing that we're trying to push
Yeah.
away or resist
Right.
is the way to get through it.
Yeah.
So,
So you mentioned like going in like a few times low. So for people like who don't know much about meditation or things like that, like what do you suggest, like especially at this time, like what's the best way or the quickest way? Because everybody's looking for
yeah,
quick and easy.
there's
What do
always
you?
a quick way, right?
Yeah, I
So
know.
the other thing
Exact.
that we're being faced at this time is
Yeah.
our generation is so conditioned
Yeah.
to embrace the fast food
Yeah.
consciousness.
Right.
When I say fast food consciousness,
Yeah.
I mean
Like
getting
a
things
quick and easy. Yeah.
instantly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but
Right.
when you look at the pace of nature, because today's Earth Day,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
it doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah.
Like
Nature takes its time. Yeah. Yeah.
if I plant a seed today and
Yeah.
I'm waiting for a flowering or a fruit to come out of it, it's going to take some time.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. Yeah, that's where I was getting to. Like, when people think of meditation, they think, oh, it's gonna take like many years for me to be good at
Right.
it. But I know for a fact that just like 5 minutes a day is good enough to start with.
Hmm.
And like, what do you suggest? Like, I won't say quick way, but like an easy way for people to get in touch with like their being or themselves.
Hmm. Yeah. So another thing that I also realized is I remember when I first started meditating, I absolutely cannot sit for more than 3 minutes. I
Yeah.
remember that.
Right.
And then I started adding 2 more minutes and then another 2 minutes in my
Yeah.
next sit, another one, another one. Next thing I know, I can sit for 30 more minutes. Next
Right.
thing I know, I'm sitting for an hour. So,
Yeah.
um, and this is where consistency and habits come into
Yeah.
play.
So,
So the more that
mhm,
we just allow ourselves the grace and the ease to just be and
yeah,
be in stillness. Not when I say stillness, not to say like stillness
body,
in like
yeah,
physical
right.
reality only, but stillness within
Yeah,
first. And
yeah,
like if I place my hand on my chest and my other hand on my belly to see like how where is my stillness at this
yeah,
point, like how
right.
can I cultivate more stillness, and just like doing a quick check-in
Yeah,
to see, oh, okay, so there's parts that are um very uplifted
yeah,
and need a little bit more
y-
stillness
yeah,
inside me, so I'm not constantly like reaching out
yeah,
to
right, right.
other people, external stuff, so it's just like a constant like,
Okay.
yeah.
So, like getting in touch with the body, and then I think the second part of it is like getting in touch with your thoughts, because I think, yeah,
Yeah.
thoughts, and then the probably the third thing is emotion. So probably it's like a balance of all three, I guess. That's what I know from my experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when I share stuff like fearlessness and confident love and fierce grace and all that, like
Yeah.
these words have like a connotative meaning that I gotta go and do
Do something.
something
Right.
with a very fiery energy. However,
Mm.
it doesn't really look like that. It feels like that in the
Yeah.
beginning, but when
Right.
you deepen into the process and like see it, feel
Yeah.
it, you know that it's going to happen, you know that it's there, and then dialing it back inward, that is like the
Okay.
most graceful way that we can approach
Right.
daily life in order to have real strength and courage to connecting to your genuine heart inside. So
Yeah.
the genuine heart is the access to your own codex within your alchemization of your own heart, right? So it
Yeah.
can be anything from exploring and encountering different emotions when you
Right.
look inside.
Mm-hmm.
It could be experiences from hardships in life. It could be the most
Right.
joyful and the most uplifting ones. It could be a whole
Yeah.
gamut of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we have
Uh,
memories. Yeah. We have traumas, memories, especially the
yeah.
childhood stuff, right? Because we don't even remember what we went through during childhood. So that could be something else.
Yeah, and sometimes they will come up, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And just saying that like it's okay. It's good. When it
Yeah.
comes up, fine. It doesn't
Accept it.
have
Yeah.
to have a
Right.
resolve right then and there, but what we can do is have compassionate awareness for ourselves when that
Right.
happens, and that we have loving kindness and open hearts to cradle it, right? Kind of
Yeah.
like a small version of ourselves, and like a very innocent child, that having that kind of love rather than veering away from it, and
Yeah.
then really allowing the space to breathe into that,
Right.
and just have it have it just be there
Yeah.
and just let
Yeah.
it be, and then place that that small part of ourselves in our arms, and place it in warmth,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah. So it's like accepting and trusting, like those are the two words that come into my mind. Like,
mhm,
yeah.
right. Even if it's awkward, even if it's painful,
Yeah.
even if it feels like, oh my gosh, this is so triggering and I don't even
Yeah.
want to go look at that, and like, oh, that person reminds me of this, like, well, let's just let it be and just
Yeah.
breathe it in and exhaling it out, and then really look at like, where is it really rooted
Yeah.
within me?
Right.
Because we're in a hologram of a holographic universe. So anything and everything that I notice about everyone around me,
Hmm.
including talking to you in this podcast, I'm going to get existential for a minute, is a direct reflection of like what's happening for me,
Yeah.
all in the space of
Yeah.
love, in my own loving awearness,
I
right?
know because in a way, like everything and everyone is me or you. Like we're all at the end of the day, we're all coming from the same being. So like just accepting that as well, because sometimes we get into this competition or like negative emotions. So that's what I learned is like not take it too seriously because at the end of the day, uh, it's we're all coming from the same source. So that's where spiritual lessons take shape. And yeah. So why don't
Yeah.
you tell us a little bit about like the work you do and how people like can get in touch with you, because looks like especially at this
Yeah.
time, like people, I feel that people need help, uh, and online is right now is the
Hmm.
best way to do it. Like, how do you people get in touch with you, and how can you help them? Like, is there specific
Hmm.
areas in their lives that you can help them with, or just overall, that's just the life coaching aspect of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a course that I have been teaching, and we are enrolling students to Shine Bright Clearly. That's the name of the course.
Uh-huh.
And that's starting in May. And it's a 6 week, I call it a 6 week life upgrade version. Not to say that your life is not already upgraded, it probably is
Right.
um, super amazing already.
Yeah.
However, um, there's just a different language that we have
Mhm.
realized with our own
Yeah.
real eyes
Hmm.
in this new space and this new awareness
Hmm.
to living our own authentic path to fulfillment, to wellness, to wholeness, you know, using technology that is our One Brilliance collective that connects each person
Right.
across the globe to practice mindfulness and well-being and meditation and yoga or whatever practice works for each person.
Right.
It's not a one stop
Yeah.
shop, one size fit all thing.
Right. Right.
My work that I do is
Yeah.
to really empower, encourage, and uplift your own highest, most
Okay.
authentic awareness to stay in your own truth, in clear, full alignment with your mission, vision, and your purpose
Okay.
while you're on this planet. I call this Earth School because this is like
Yeah.
the perfect place for you to sandbox it out before you ascend onto the next dimensional level of our cosmology with each other. So it's like
Yeah.
inter-universal ascension, right? So there's
Yeah.
like an activation path that you can play around with and then explore and then see how it's positively
Yeah.
shaping and emanating in your own holographic field,
Right.
in your own awareness, in your own experiences, and then
Okay.
while you're also being in full self-embodiment to your own conscious
Okay.
awareness within
All right.
all of us. So it's part of the work that I do. And
Okay. So is
yeah,
that gonna be like a group like interactive class? Like,
yeah. So there is an interactive piece to it. We meet about meet we meet about once a week,
yeah.
and there's also an online forum that people can
Okay.
share their discoveries, because sometimes 1 hour to, you know, chat and like share.
Yeah.
Sometimes we go up to 2 hours to like sharing
Okay.
and experiencing what these things are,
All right.
um, and then peeling back the programs. You know, it's like literally
Mm.
deprogramming yourself from the old paradigm,
Yeah.
the old patterns, and then really stepping into the loving, reflective heart and having the opportunity to listen deeply and courageously and encourage at the same time
Yeah.
everyone else in the same cohort to empower each other, and then you know, have that internal pilot light to steer your own
Yeah.
awareness ship. So I call it awareness ship because your own
Right.
awareness is your own, and no one else is going to
Yeah.
steer it from you,
Right.
and unless you do it yourself, right? So
Yeah.
it, it'll move
Yeah.
it forward in the direction that you want to move it forward. But it's
Mm.
even more fun when you have other people
Yeah.
in the with you, and having the ability
Yeah.
to stay present to the actualities of the life that you have right now in the present moment, and then fully embodying the healthy emotions to rest, replenish, nourish, be well, and have the opportunity and space to nourish yourself with amazing opportunities
Yeah.
to create the life that you want while you're also earning something
Yeah.
extra for yourself. So that's
That's
the magic of just being.
yeah. Cool.
So
And where can people like find out more about the that course that you're doing?
yeah, so you can find the course for Shine Bright Clearly at my website. That's Mariya, Mariya Katrina, Katrina .me
Okay.
slash or forward slash, excuse me, um, Shine Bright Clearly. And
Okay.
I'll send you a link to it so you could post it on
The
the
YouTube. Yeah.
notes as
Sure.
well.
Yeah.
And if people want to do one-on-one counseling sessions with me,
Right.
or a group counseling session with me, that's also available. You can book an appointment with me on my Insta. There's a bunch of resources on my Insta, and that is the mk.official, and that's my Instagram handle.
How do you
And
spell
I
that?
do have free meditations on InsightTimer. Sorry, can you repeat that?
How do you spell your Insta account?
Oh, it's the MK
Okay.
dot official.
All right.
Mhm.
Cool. So they can do the
Yeah.
one-on-one sessions and then this group class coming up. Uh, and yeah, because right now everything is online, but I'm sure once this everything is over, you also do like personal one-on-one sessions as well.
Yeah, and then there's also
Yeah.
free sound frequency meditations that I've been
Right.
researching over the last 3 years through my study in psychology and spirituality, and how sound is a frequency that we all embody within all of us,
Oh
and
yeah.
that
Oh
that
yeah, we were
frequency
talking
that
about
you,
music earlier. Yeah, that's
yeah,
where we
so
actually
that's on InsightTimer, so you can
Insight
also listen
Timer.
to that.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So,
Yeah.
Maitreya Katrina, why don't you tell us a little bit about your name? Because it's
Oh,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, you have two or three different names. Why don't you
I
tell us?
have two first names. So my
Yeah.
sister and I actually have the same exact first name, and
Right.
I've always gone by my middle name. So everyone has
Right.
always called me Katrina or
Okay.
Kat. But I figured, I'll put my whole entire name on
Right.
my website because that's
Okay.
me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
this is something that you want to explore for yourself, to clarify your vision, to know your mission, to align to
Yeah.
your purpose, do that, elevate your unique strengths,
Yeah.
creatively explore your talents and your own truth, and really increase your prosperity, abundance, while you're
Yeah.
focusing and valuing the worth of your time. It's really a lot easier and simpler than most people think it is. So,
Hmm.
and you get to stay in your own truth and on integrity, and really embody yourself. You're just yourself. There's no, like, particular thing that you really have to do that I'm
Right.
saying. These are just scaffolding parameters that you can take with you, and then I really encourage creativity and building, so that and as you already know, being in a tech space, it's so important.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Great. Kat, do you have anything else before we end? Like, is there anything you want to add to your message today?
Yeah, I just want to share with everybody to take time to just take a moment, take a deep inhale in and exhaling it out,
Mm-hmm.
and just be.
Mm.
It's really that simple.
Okay. Yeah, that's short and sweet. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I like that too. Yeah, it was great talking to you, Kat, and I'm sure we'll do this again sometime later. And yeah, thanks a lot for what you're doing. And I'll post this it's be on YouTube, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. Maybe we can do some kind of workshop together or something like that in the
Yeah,
future.
that would be wonderful. Yeah. Thank you, Lokesh. And I really appreciate you and the work that you're doing and bringing awareness to what our new co-creative 5D reality looks like at this time, and being in present moment awareness. So thank you. I really appreciate
Yeah,
the work that you're
appreciate it.
doing. It's so important at this time. So namaste. Thank you for
Namaste. Thank you. Take
that.
care, Kat. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.